Thanks.
Hello, everyone. It is Monday, April 19th, and you're tuning in to THHoopers, the Sean Stevenson's favorite basketball podcast. I'm here with Josh Rhodes.
Hello.
And George Martin.
Mavericks legend.
I got a pretty good show for you guys. Josh has something to do it. You think what's wrong
I
with
think
what George
more
said?
Wizards legend than anything.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Good show for you guys. Recap last weekend of ball. Busy weekend, despite what George might have you thinking. The NBA content is pretty solid.
Better. It is getting better.
They listen to you. Then we have George's halftime. And ended off, we're going to give our favorite NBA villains in honor of, Jake Paul getting that W. Remember, if you guys like what you hear, make sure to follow all our socials at THHoopers, Instant Twitter. Drop a comment anywhere. We'll give you a shout out for supporting. I think Frankie commented again, so via our contract, he does get a shout out. Frankie the Ace. Not a spot on the show, though. Friday, April 16th, we'll get the boring games out of the way. Jazz beat the Pacers 119-111. Pistons beat the Thunder 110-104. Nets beat the Hornets 130-115. Raps beat the Magic 113-102. Grizzlies beat the Bulls 126-115. Nuggets beat someone. I'm sorry that they beat the brakes also on 128-199 at the Bulls again. Houston. Yeah, Grizzlies beat the Bulls and Nuggets beat Houston. Blazers beat the Spurs without Dame Lillard. First game we're going to deep dive in on is the Sixers and Clips matchup up in Philly, and the Clips was a close one without Kawhi. Final 106-103. PG had another great game with 37-9-6. Well, we got to see who Doc really trusts in this game, as only PG, Morris, Batum, and Reggie Jackson played over 30 minutes.
You mean Tyler?
Jeez Louise. For the Sixers, they continue to win games while healthy, as Embiid at 36, and had more free throws than the entire Clips team. What did you guys see from this game? I'm going to take a 5.
George, you want to start?
Wasn't it your look ahead?
Might have been.
It was Josh's, I think. No?
Doesn't matter, to be honest.
No, my look ahead.
Oh, okay.
My look ahead was Boston Golden State.
Sorry, I'll take this one then. Really interesting defensive tactic from the Clippers. They went small when Embiid was on the floor. They were running Morris at the 5, I believe. And they were also...
I won't say interesting.
They were doubling Embiid, and his decision-making out of doubles is not that good.
Energizer Ultimate is still going.
Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can hear that. The Energizer.
I have no idea where that came from. Anyways, okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I try and mute them every time, but they keep playing. But they were doubling Embiid, and his decision-making out of doubles isn't that good. So that could be something going forward, because he had a few turnovers out of it, and I don't think I've seen him being doubled a lot, especially out in the perimeter. Obviously down low they'll do it, but in the perimeter. So that was interesting. But yeah, PG had a good game, surprisingly. No, I'm kidding. So that was interesting to see how they defensively schemed against the Sixers.
Yeah, so center position for the Clippers, Ivica Zubac, 16 minutes, Patrick Patterson, 14 minutes. Everyone else was a guard or a forward, so you kind of
really went small, yeah.
As far as going small there. Josh, what did you see from here?
George, you said a lot of turnovers. Are you sure about that one?
Well,
2?
I know that a lot of the passes they probably didn't end up going as turnovers, but there was a lot of disrupted plays out of it, which was different.
He still had 36 on 50% shooting with 14 rebounds.
Okay.
No Tobias Harris. I don't think Lehman really mentioned that, but that was also a big part. No Seth Curry either, but at the same time, he's been kind of struggling recently.
No Tobias Harris, no Kawhi Leonard. Kind of a wash. Honestly,
yes. So it was good. It was good to see PG really come into full form as like the one. Even though they didn't get the win, it's nice to see him put up 37 on relatively decent shooting, a little under 50%. This was just a good game overall, kind of a wash, but still a good game regardless. Most of the teams still had most of their players, and honestly, This is just crazy how top heavy the NBA is. This could potentially be one of the finals matchups.
I mean, possibly, yeah. And then, underrated Pat Peterson, 14 minutes, 18 off the bench. I don't know what he was doing, but he was getting buckets. I want to bring, and I don't know if I brought this to the podcast. I was talking to a friend of the show, Jay Guardhouse. about it. LA Clipper fan. How do you guys feel about PG being the one on offense, the Clippers, and Kawhi being the two?
Wanted it. That's
not the point guard, like the number one option on offense.
Oh,
I like that also.
I'd prefer him being the number one option over being the point guard, especially now that they have Rondo. I think, especially late game, he creates a lot of action, offense, and easy shots, which they don't do well before they had Rondo. So, yeah, being the first option is fine. I'm fine with that.
You have no problem with him over Kawhi on offense?
Yeah, but in terms of point guard, I wouldn't have him being the point anymore.
Yeah. But, like, I just started thinking, I was like, he put up buckets in Indiana, and then he went to the Thunder, had to try and be the second option, couldn't really fit there. Then he went to the Clippers last year, couldn't really be the second option there. He started getting like in his head a little bit. And now without Kawhi here, he's really coming to his own. Josh, you mentioned it's nice to see him score 37. That's been every other night. Like, this guy's been cooking. And he's got the ball in his hands a lot, played 40 here. And yeah, I think George, I mean, obviously, I don't want him playing the one. I think me and Josh kind of bonded over that in the beginning, and then we switched up. We were like, no, actually, don't let him play the point guard position. But I think, yeah, I really think, especially because he's one of the best two-way guards too. So let Kawhi guard a lot on defense, cover those rotations, and then kind of let PG just handle on offense. You guys down for that?
Yeah, and that's also kind of a knock on Kawhi Leonard's game because there's not a lot to knock on, but when he has the ball in his hands, the offense kind of comes into full stop motion. With Paul George, I feel like the ball moves more fluidly. That's kind of why we had this like facade idea that he could play point guard. Now, obviously, he can't, but the ball still does move when he is the number one option. And I think that if they make the playbook more dedicated to finding him as the first option, the offense would run more smoothly, in my opinion.
So just to end this off here, we'll go ahead. So Clippers, we're missing Pat Bev, Ibaka, and Kawhi Leonard. And the Sixers are missing Seth Curry, Tobias Harris, George Hill, and Dwight Howard. I don't know if George Hill's played his debut yet, but he's supposed to be the backup point guard. Moving on, Pelicans played 2 OT games this weekend and lost the first one of the Wizards, 117-115. Russ had 36, 15, and 9, and Beal had 30 in the W. Well, Daniel Gafford had 18 off the bench. Zion shot 50% from the field, which is 10 below his season average, while BI had the green light going 12 for 27. A fun and important game for each team because the play in tourney. Where do you guys want to go with this one? I'll start with George.
A little bit of a concern for the Pelicans, especially because I picked them to make the play-in in the West, and I'm concerned with their late game, just overall, just getting shots and their leadership, decisiveness. I know they have BI and Zion to be like closers, but sometimes they go away from them, and just like the clutch time offense is kind of stagnant, and that's what's concerning about them. And I just don't know, especially in that next game that I think we're going to get to later, like it's almost like there's a lack of leadership with them. Like they don't know, guys are just staring off in the huddles, and they kind of just in the late game, they just have one or two blunders, and that loses them the game right away.
Do you think that's coaching?
Well, no, because I mean, what I heard today told me it wasn't coaching. It was the players that messed up, and just situational awareness wasn't good at all either.
It is a young team, though.
It is, yeah, but.
Is some of it on Bledsoe because he's kind of been there?
That's the guy who I want.
He's kind of gone into the main starting point guard role, and Lonzo's kind of been kicked to the curb a little bit. We'll get to that later. But is it on Bledsoe? Because I'm not a big fan of Bledsoe.
And I'm going to save my talking point on Bledsoe for the next game because there was something that popped up that I want to talk about.
Okay, well, Josh, do you have anything from the Pelicans this game, or should we talk a little bit Wizards?
I'll just say that they just I guess I'll take my point for the Pelicans to the next one too, but Najee Marshall, they've just been playing him all of a sudden, and I mean he's got stats, but I'm gonna talk good about the Wizards for the first time. Daniel Gafford, oh my gosh, he absolutely ruptured Zion's any chance to get anything in the paint. It was terrible watching Zion try to put stuff. I was like, who is this guy? And then I realized it's Daniel Gafford, and I was like, oh, that more ex-Chicago Bulls succeeding. So
Daniel Gafford, me and George have been on that hype train. He needs to get him in, start on that instead of Alex Len, and then just figure out what you're doing with Thomas Bryant. But Daniel Gafford's playing really good.
Maybe something in Chicago's not doing so hot because I've had my issues with the front office for a long time, but they finally made a move. They're losing, and the ex Chicago Bulls in their new places are thriving. So,
okay, well, we're not going to talk about the Bulls in a different spot. So we'll talk about it a little bit here. They hired a new front office, though. The guy that built the Denver Nuggets, AK. Is your problem with him, or was it with Garpax?
I think it's just with the atmosphere and like the reputation they have, because it's like nobody's really changed the culture. Like it's just been that same culture. Like regardless, it's just different names under the same culture, and the culture is losing. So
is it Billy Donovan? Because we were on here saying A++.
Personally, I like Billy Donovan as the coach. I just think that somebody needs to be more vocal and change the way that the Chicago Bulls come out and play, because it doesn't seem like anything's really being fixed there, despite the new names and the reputation that those new names bring in.
And where do you think that comes from? Where's the solution come from? Is it coaching? Is it a veteran player that comes in? Because they're on a roll. Like I thought, like Thad Young was doing that perfectly. Like he was the leader on the court. He was like what Rondo was supposed to be for like young teams. If Rondo gave a rat's ass about young teams, that's what he was supposed to do with the Hawks. So. Yeah. Where do you see that coming from?
I kind of agree with you there. I think they just need management on and off the court. So I think maybe finding a name, they have a pretty good management. You talked about the builder of the Nuggets, but I think they need that on the court as well. Cause you have the superstars, but you don't have the guys that connect it together, because there's always going to be kind of that separation between players and coaching and management. And if you have those veteran players that kind of stick it all together, I think they need a few more of those.
Fair enough. George, you want to talk any Wizards?
No, Josh basically hit it on the head, and I liked his talking point about the Bulls. I think that I agree with that too.
Who's the best player on the Wizards, George?
Nah,
don't say Russell Westbrook.
It's Beal, man. I know we love Russ, but it's Beal.
If I'm building a team, I'd rather have Beal. This season, Russ has been better.
You said that? Oh my gosh.
That's just my opinion. 36, 15, and 9.
Anyways.
Come on, man.
You're going to keep naming stats. It's okay, but
hey, I'm going to start naming wins too, because
Russ is a phenomenal number 2.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, the Heat and Wolves matched up and were both healthy except for the loss of Oladipo. And the Wolves pulled off the win, 119-111. Cat had 24 on good shooting. The Wolves had 3 players in double figures off the bench, including D'Lo, who they're still bringing off the bench. I don't know if it's because it's just working or if because he's still in kind of minutes restriction and they have Rubio starting.
It's minutes.
It's minute restriction?
Yeah.
It is working, though. It's working really well. He's struggling in a variety of ways, so I'll let you guys get to that part. I'll start with Josh.
And you want to talk about the Miami Heat struggles,
or you could go with the with what the Wolves did, right?
I mean, the Wolves just look like they know how to score. In all honesty, like they don't even have their full team, and their Anthony Edwards didn't shoot great, but they just got like all these random guys. They have Hernan Gomez and Naz Reid, and they got a lot of scoring from their bench and just all around. It seemed like everybody that they had on the court could put the ball in the basket, and that's kind of been the complete opposite picture for the Heat. Tyler Hero's had a very, very, very bad shooting month. 1 of 7 tonight. He looks very stagnant playing. I kind of saw it. We'll get into it maybe for today, but he hasn't looked too great because they're starting to trust him more with the second unit completely, and he hasn't looked like he's been able to create for himself, and that's kind of an issue. Maybe that's a rotation fix that they have to adjust. Jimmy Butler did everything in his power to keep the game close, but unfortunately it wasn't enough.
So yeah, rotation issue. I feel like because Dragic runs that second unit too, so it's him and Dragic. So I don't really see an excuse.
He has not been good this year.
He's been mid, not as good as Bubble Dragic, but George, what are your thoughts on this game?
So Minnesota, they won this game inside in the paint, 52 paint points, which is uncharacteristic because Miami is the number 1 team in paint point prevention, I guess you'd say. And they won this game in the fourth too, 31-18 run, the fourth quarter. Miami just went stagnant, like Josh said. They've had inefficient guard play basically all season. Tyler Hero was a minus 25. And they just go on these stretches where they can't hit shots.
Plus minuses.
I mean, even if I didn't, Josh, like it's glaring. Like there's no one else. I think the next worst was -8 from Gabe Vincent. But yeah, they go on these cold stretches where they just can't hit anything, and their offense lacks creation too at times. It's concerning, and especially that they can't get it done against a team like Minnesota. It kind of worries you a little bit, but then they go and win another game, and you're like, oh, wait a second, now they're good. So
Minnesota also closed both halves out very strong. They were down 11 going into the second quarter, and I think they were trailing going into the fourth. They really got it done to close in the second quarter and the fourth quarter, and that's kind of a good thing. Like you feeling good, and then you start to struggle. I'd like to see that completely throughout the game because this team could be very dangerous if they're able to keep that consistent energy that they had in the second and fourth quarters for the other two. That's a very dangerous team in my opinion.
Yeah, Josh is right. They won the second quarter by 11 and won the fourth quarter by 13.
George, I want you to guess, and it's not a trick question or anything. We've talked about how the Miami Heat offense holds them back.
Yeah.
Since March 26th, what do you think the highest point they've scored in a game is?
115.
116 against the Golden State Warriors.
Didn't they lose that game?
They won that game.
Oh, okay, because I know they lost at Golden State, but yeah.
You gave them a clap. It's 2021.
Oh yeah,
everyone scores that.
Yeah,
like it's a big. Are we underestimating how much Oladipo means to this team on both sides of the ball? Because we haven't really given them any sort of pass for that because he didn't really have a role in the team, and they didn't really give up a lot to get him. So it's kind of the same team.
He's going to be the third option, though. How much are you expecting out of him? You're still
clapping at how close George was.
Okay.
No, he has a point though. Like it's a valid question, but I mean, is he going to be an initial creator? I don't think so. I thought he'd be more of an off-ball.
I think guy. He is.
He is, but in this system, I like it more when it runs through Jimmy because I think that's when they're at their best, I guess. Even though the numbers kind of don't reflect it, but I don't know.
You can run through Jimmy in crunch time. They're running through Jimmy the whole game, and they're racking up these L's.
Yeah, but it also stems on their three main guards shooting 1 for 7, 2 for 8 every game. There's only so much Jimmy can do.
Nobody's afraid of the guard play anymore. Everybody kind of is accepting that. I think if they bring in Oladipo, just his threat as just a slasher and just all around scorer brings a different game plan requirement for the opposite team. And obviously you can still run through Jimmy. They're going to still run through Jimmy at the end of the game, like Lehman said. But I mean, just for these like dead periods, the second, third quarter, like where you're just trying to keep your pace throughout the game, I think Oladipo is a very crucial part of their game plan.
Yeah, I have high hopes for Oladipo to kind of raise their offensive ceiling, and I think it'll kind of nudge on that. I don't know how much my hopes will get realized, but yeah, moving on. The Knicks started off the weekend with a win against the Mavs, 117-109. Had to do with a guy that George did not have in his top 5 big men, Julius Randle, 44-10. I don't care that you faked your amends a few podcasts ago and said, "Oh yeah, he's top 10 now." I'll never let you forget it. 44-10 for Julius Randle.
Oh my gosh.
Kristaps Porzingis continues to get cooked by every player that comes at him. This guy can't play a lick of defense. It's hard to watch. Knicks looked great in this game as they shot 50% from 3 and had great defense as usual. Lamar struggled to get anything going that didn't involve Luka. 22 points and 19 assists. I wanted to find points responsible for, but I guess that's only a 2K stat. It's not in the NBA Game Time app, but I would assume it's a lot. What say you guys from this game? Let's start us off here.
I'll take it.
Josh wants
44.
44.
Not top 10 big man. Oh man, George, you crack me up. RJ Barrett played almost the whole game. I think he sat down, took a sip of water, and the Mavericks started doing stuff, and Tom Thibodeau threw him right back in the fray. But that's good. I think he needs just a big log of minutes. I'm honestly kind of upset with Luka at this game, to be honest, because this is a game they definitely were in the running for most of the time. Even though the Knicks played a phenomenal game, I think Luka kind of had a Steve Nash-esque game where he was a bit too passive scoring-wise. And obviously we talked about him game planning, but when you have 19 assists, I don't know. It feels like a bit much, which is crazy to even think about, and it wouldn't be a harp on any other player, but it's Luka Doncic, so I feel like I have to be a little bit critical of it. But again, Knicks played probably the best game right here that they played all year.
Here goes Josh protecting one of his guys, Jalen Brunson, minus 20 in 16 minutes.
He was bad. He was bad. They took him out the game early.
Yeah,
he was not good.
In most games the Mavs win, Jalen Brunson plays well. He's a key piece for them. I don't know like what you're really onto, because they were playing Luka really well on defense, and I mean he tried forcing it 2 for 9 from 3. Could have been a lot worse, but he became passive. And I think as a star, I kind of agree with you that way. But watching the game film on this one, I kind of just saw it. I mean, he was making the right pass. I mean, he kind of like George knows he was playing like how LeBron plays in like some first quarters where he just comes out. He's like, I ain't shooting. And that's how it was.
And also, I have to keep apologizing to the Knicks because I keep saying, oh, they played their best game. I think that's the best they're gonna get. And then like a week or two later, they play an even better game.
They're running Elfrid Payton in the starting lineup. He's not good, but it's nice seeing Deros at the bench. 15 in this game.
The thing is, he plays the first quarter and he's out.
Yeah, it's weird. And then you got RJ Barrett, Reggie Bullock, and Julius Randle 40 apiece. And like you mentioned, RJ Barrett 46. I've seen a lot of stuff that I like from RJ Barrett. I know you like him because you're a Duke guy. I'm
used to be. I can't really root for them anymore.
But RJ Barrett's shown me a lot, and he's only a second-year guy, right? Zion draft. They got something special in their hands that way. George, I don't know if you're just on TikTok or something because you're on your phone, or if you're doing research. So I'll let you have the floor here.
No, I was letting you guys do the whole play-by-play. I just want to ask a question about Dallas. Where do they go in the future with Porzingis? Because he hasn't been that good. I know he's recovering from a knee injury. But you flip him.
I don't. Exactly. That's the thing. The Knicks won the trade. Who would have thought? This dude cannot play
defense. They won the trade and replaced him with a better power forward.
And you can't surround Luka Doncic with players that don't play defense, because Luka, he doesn't play defense either. So it's hard to watch, because every single time we're doing a podcast, I'm seeing Vucevic against the Mavs, eat. Valanciunas against the Mavs, eat. Like any physical center, he just can't play any defense, and his rotations are whack. He can't go the pick and roll either. I'd rather have Boban out there if I could keep it $1. Would you? I mean, 23 and 12 here, 8 for 20, but he's kind of being force-fed by Luka, and he can really get a shot anytime he wants because he's just so damn tall.
Hold on. The slander on Kristaps Porzingis is a bit much, because you're going to give guys like Nikola Vucevic a break, and they play basically the same amount of defense at the same skill level.
No, they don't. No.
Yes, they do. They do.
No, they don't. No.
They absolutely
Porzingis
do.
is too damn lanky. He can't guard in the post. Vucevic will get a stop 1 out of 10 times. Porzingis won't guard. There's no 0 out of 10, 8 out of 10. He just won't guard. And then you got Maxi Kleber rotating. They're starting 3 white guys. You can't do that. You can't do that in modern NBA.
Someone check Mark Cuban.
Oh, Mark Cuban loves those Europeans.
He's about to break the bank.
Yeah, I mean, Luka 22-19, fun there. Julius Randle stole the show. Saturday, April 17th, Lakers beat the Jazz 127-115. More on that later. Wizards beat the Pistons 121-100. And Bulls finally get a win. This time beating the Cavs 106-96. No Zach LaVine still, obviously. Game of the night was Celtics beating the Warriors 119-114. Not a lot of stats to name here, so I'll just start you guys off by saying Tatum had 44 in the win and Steph had 47. What's his name? Juan Toscano Anderson. Hurt. Good play. I'll let you guys take the rest from this game. Josh.
Well, this was my look ahead, and it did not disappoint. I wasn't expecting a Jaylen Brown absence, but oh my gosh. I said it was either going to be who can stop the star players or who's just going to score more points. And it was really Steph Curry versus Tatum. That is how basketball works. And the support for both players weren't too great. I mean, they both had a couple of players over double digits, but I think Marcus Smart played probably the most pivotal portion of the game, especially toward the end. He's been a very, very, very big piece when he shoots the ball properly, because
not probably.
The whole harp on his game up until recently was just like, oh, he's such a great defender. I mean, I can't really say too much because Curry had 47, but he's such a great defender and he's not able to score, so he's kind of useless. But now recently he's been hitting threes. He's been doing a lot of great things for the Celtics, and this was just a really good game. Obviously, Steph Curry, 11 threes. Oh my gosh!
This season, I'm telling you, he's breaking it this season.
Before I let George talk about this game, Jabari Parker made his debut. They might have some here. They might. 11 points, 5 of 6. He can come and he can give you 15 a night, minutes that is, not points. And then they're really grasping at straws for any big man contribution they can get. And he can play the 4. He's an actual 4. He got run here because no Robert Williams. Then obviously the guard play was lacking with Jaylen Brown and Evan Fournier. But it started Semi Ojeleye. That was fun. George, what did you see from this one?
How much more is it going to take for you guys to realize Steph needs more out of his teammates?
No, he needs more. We know we've talked about this, but it's just that you talking about getting new guys.
All right.
I mean, Wiggins 8 for 15. I mean, everyone you're talking about shot over 50%.
Draymond Green 5 points. Don't you need 12 to 14 out of Draymond? You're gonna trade him because he didn't get 12.
No, I'm just I don't know what's up with Draymond because all game he'll go, he'll have wide open 3-point opportunities and he won't take anything or mid ranges or layups. But come crunch time, he's taking these wild layups and Bazemore's missing free throws. I mean,
we're gonna start attacking our players. Steph Curry 3 assists. I don't know.
He had to be the number 1, number 2, and number 3 guy for them to even be close to this game. He had the ball had to be in his hand and he had to be shooting in order for them to even
Tatum,
almost win this game.
64%.
But
that's filthy.
yeah, I mean, not much to take away from this besides the stars being the stars. But it's Boston. Let's not forget. I believe they're on a 6 or 7 game win streak. They're up to the 4 seed. So look out for them. They've kind of made some noise this past stretch.
Sorry, they're back down to the 5 seed. The Hawks won today, but George are on the nose. 6-game winning streak, 8-2 in the last 10. Pretty damn solid.
All their stars back.
Slander recently.
JT and JB have been literally carrying them to victories.
Danny Ainge is responsible for the losses. The players are responsible for the W's. Okay,
of course.
Danny Ainge did not go out there and score 44 and then sit with his kid post game. That's not how
honestly,
it goes.
Shout out J Sports though. But recently, Kemba Walker has been playing more of a.
He did hit the dagger.
I kind of like that. I kind of like how he doesn't feel like he needs to be incorporated in the scoring portion of the offense. 26 to against the Warriors, but recently he's been kind of taking it backwards because he had a game where he shot only 7 shots, and I think that's a really big step.
Do you know how many assists he had in that game? Because I was talking to J Sports as well. If he's going to go to take a back seat as far as scoring wise, which I think he should, he needs to contribute as far as running the offense and sharing the ball because that's what's on the floor for.
Yeah, well, he got a lot of 2K teammate grades, past assists. Marcus Smart got the latter of the assists tonight, but you can kind of see it when you watch the film that he's kind of more the orchestrator, and it doesn't really matter. I think it's more like a watch the film rather than read the stats type of assist numbers for Kemba Walker.
No more stat heads here. We watch game film. George, anything else to add from here? Good game. Moving on, Memphis Grizzlies are now 7-3 in the last 10 after beating a healthy Bucks team, 128-115. Grayson Allen and Dylan Brooks scored 47 on 65% shooting, and they got help from the bench, having 2 players score over 15. Problem for the Bucks was no bench scoring, as the least amount of scoring for a starter was Middleton with 16, and the most for the bench was Pat Connaughton with 7. Quickie here, but just takeaways from here. I'll start with George. Haven't heard from him.
I'm the Bucks apologist here, but their defense, I've harped on this a lot. It's a little bit inconsistent, more to my liking, because they're a top seed in the East, and they're kind of just getting the doors blown off against these some teams. Memphis is obviously a good team, nothing to take away from them, but I mean, there's just been games where they're giving up a ton of these points, and then their offense can't recalibrate that, and that's what's concerning most. And the defensive scheme from Bud is a little bit concerning too, because you guys know what I like from the Bucks. So it doesn't concern me wholeheartedly. I think they'll end up being fine, but the lapses they have on the defensive end have been concerning a little bit this season.
Well, just answer this question for me then. Are they bored, or is there legit concerns here? Because they don't have a title hangover, number one defense hangover where like, we'll get it going when we have to.
It's interesting because there's a lot of times where they lock in and they look really good. They've beaten, some contenders, but it's just it could be that, and a lot of teams have gone through that, times where they just, have the lapses, like I said, and they don't look like themselves. So I guess I'll put most of the stock into that, but I do have a little bit of concern that it's not just, being bored or whatever.
Okay. Josh, where do you stand on the Bucks defensive woes?
I think they're good enough. They are inconsistent, like George said, and I'm still not sure if they can ramp it up, but I feel like that's kind of what they're going for. So I'm not too hard of a judge until playoff time comes for Milwaukee's defense.
Okay, and then it's a quickie here, so let's touch on the Grizzlies real quick. Do you see them getting out of the play-in? Getting a real playoff spot?
No.
No, I think they stay 8 or 9.
But do you think like they get an actual playoff spot, or do you think they lose in the play?
I definitely think they can win. And with kind of Dallas struggling, I would probably take Memphis over Dallas in a play-in.
Josh?
They
play the Warriors right now.
Oh, yikes!
So
let's revisit that.
Well, George brought up. I think I've just mishandled the whole play-in tournament. 7 and 8 play each other. 9 and 10.
7 and 8 play each other, and then 9 and 10 play each other. Because what happens is the loser of 7-8 plays the winner.
I had it wrong too, Josh.
No, I thought that too. I thought it was 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9. No, the loser of 7 versus 8 plays the
winner of 9 and 10
for the 8th spot.
And then the winner of 7-8 gets the 7th.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, so they'll play the Mavericks right now. They could definitely do it. I don't think they will. I think Mavericks are too offensively talented, but
I would take the Grizzlies because Valanciunas has that boy's number. Porzingis.
Everybody's got Kristaps Porzingis' number.
Give me 20 and 20 from Jonas Valanciunas if they match up. Oh, and Ja. Oh, Ja plays so good. Yeah. After a thriller against the Blazers, we're moving on here. The Spurs clocked the Suns right in the kisser. 111-85 without DeMar DeRozan. Spurs had 6 players in double figures, and now the Suns had 22% shooting from 3, which is the key to beating them. CP3 and Booker both shot 30% from the field, and as a team lost the assist battle. Suns are the only team to really not be resting any players or battling an injury bug. So every loss they really get here, I kind of don't give an excuse for. Especially, no DeMar DeRozan for the Spurs. You could say they're bored, but I want to hear what you guys think. Take away from this one, Josh.
The Spurs are. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the Spurs. They're a weird team. You said no DeRozan, and it's just. I think the Suns honestly just they gave up early.
Yeah.
They're just getting demolished, and they found no point to keep going. But I think I'm gonna use Friday as a better example. Like you look at the score, and it's like, oh, it's a close game. No Damian Lillard for the Portland Trailblazers. I don't know. Like the Spurs they'll do this thing where it's like, oh, they look really good, and they'll be like, oh, they're capable of beating or upsetting a lot of teams, and then they'll just lose games they should win. And this, I think this is a game that they just had to make as a statement. But I don't know. The Spurs just kind of interest me. In all honesty,
I think you're describing a classic 500 basketball team.
Yeah,
or just they're hot and cold.
Yeah, but they have Popovich. And they have all-star DeMar DeRozan, and you would think that they'd be a bit better with the combination, but they're not. I'm still really not a big fan of their 3-guard combo, especially when they have Jakob Poeltl and the 3 guards.
But I have to disagree with you there.
That's perfectly fine. I just haven't been a fan of that for the longest time, and I don't know. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. But another Suns meltdown, but. Yeah, not too much from the game. They've had a couple, George.
Yeah, who hasn't this season? Josh was trying to calculate what the heck happened in that game. I think it was just a trap game. Just, they didn't want to get up for it because, the Spurs also didn't have DeRozan. So those type of games are typical trap games. And, with this season too, it's hard to get up and, you see a team without their star guy, you're like, we'll go out there. And they kind of, and like Josh said, once it was to a point where it was like, they were down double digits. It's like, are we really going to try and come back? I am kind of disappointed though, because the Spurs seeing that, or not the Spurs, the Suns seeing that Mitchell just went down and the Jazz were resting, could have been perfect opportunity for them to get that 1 seed, unless they're trying to avoid the Lakers in the second round of the playoffs, which we're going to see some elite, like schedule shifting. But nothing to take away from this game analytically.
I mean, I'm not trying to push some San Antonio agenda. No player on the Suns played over 30 minutes. It was over before it started. I mean, honestly, I believe it was the second quarter. Yeah, Spurs are up by 9 in the first quarter. They're up by 19 by halftime.
Oh yeah, nobody.
It was done. So you're not going to be
Chris Paul
out there.
Chris Paul was coming out at halftime in slides.
I did watch the first half. Didn't see anything I liked from the Suns when they actually had their star players out there. But
I don't think I'd be worried from this.
Just a little trap game. I'm not worried about the Suns.
No way in hell.
I bet if the Jazz lost this game, though, George would be all over it. I guarantee it. But moving on to Sunday, Pacers beat the Hawks 129-117. Good Trae Young game. He needed this. Hornets beat the Blazers 109-101. Rockets beat the Magic 114-110. And God, I hope no one watched that game. Kings beat the Mavs 121-107 due to a 45-point second quarter. It's not a good weekend for the Mavs. And Clips beat the Timberwolves 124-105 in Kawhi's return. We would talk about it, but he just did Kawhi things, and it's Timberwolves. Pelicans fell to 0-2 in overtime games this weekend after they lose to the Knicks 122-112. Julius and Zion both battled and each had over 30. The Pelicans let too many of the other guys get going, including 4 other players besides Randle scoring double figures, and Taj Gibson chipping in 14 of those sweet rebounds. We could talk about the weird rotation SBJ's been running with. We could talk about the Pelicans playing odds, or we could talk about something on the Knicks side. I'll start with Josh.
I'm going to start with the Stan Van Gundy coaching-esque. I know George wanted to kind of attack this point, but before he does, I'm going to say that Stan Van Gundy has a rough history of getting his players to cooperate. So I don't really blame a young team like this, especially considering the fact that his rotation involves playing Lonzo Ball not in the fourth quarter, or in crunch time for that matter. Najee Marshall.
Or if it is crunch time, you rest the whole fourth quarter in the last minute. Go out there, go do something.
Go ahead. Come back from down 7. The deficit that we made the whole fourth quarter. I don't know. It's kind of difficult, and Eric Bledsoe's kind of had his character issues in the past. I don't want to be here tweeting.
It was about a hair salon.
But I mean, they're young. The cooperation issues, I think that might be a concern. I think they kind of need to get a guy that's more relatable to the young guys. Stan Van Gundy is a great coach in his own ways, but not for a team like this, and it's kind of shown in some of these crunch time moments.
So the Pelicans need like a backwards hat type of guy.
They need like a Kyle.
Yeah, you remember our I-9 coach like a few years ago? They came with the backwards hat. He was like 17. Just let us do whatever. Yeah, like that.
They need to just be like, okay, here, like Ty Lue coaching, but like a guy who like plays guitar, where like he just throws like stick figures and he's like really cool to go to drinks after games like that. Is that what you want?
Not too laid back, but like kind of like a I'm trying to think of a good example.
Luke Walton. You know how the laid back coach goes. You know how that normally goes.
Maybe like a Richard Jefferson type character.
Like a very smart and well respected like a player coach even. That might be very good actually for them.
Mark Jackson?
Throw Grant Hill in there. I mean, like, honestly.
Let's have JVG and SVG on the same staff. I feel like that would work.
Zion Williamson might
before we get to George, because he also has a point here. Is Dwight the only guy that SVG's really ran out of town?
No, he had Pistons years.
Yeah, but did he run anyone like out of town that one? They didn't have much success.
He ran every Detroit fan out of town.
That's true. I remember he was like, we're going to treat Andre Drummond like Dwight Howard in Space of 4. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. All right, George. What do you want to attack from this game?
So, late in the game, there was a few mishaps that just basically lost New Orleans the game, and it falls under that leadership, late game IQ thing I was talking about. So, Stan Van Gundy told Eric Bledsoe to foul D Rose while they were up 3 because, foul when you're up 3. They take 2 shots. They didn't have any timeouts either. The Knicks.
You're a big fan of that. You love doing that.
They would have had to go the length of the floor, assuming the Pelicans had made both free throws, down 3. It's a heave, and whatever happens, happens. Bledsoe admitted in the postgame presser that he was just not focusing in the huddle and forgot. Like, straight up, he just forgot. And there was also another blunder that Lonzo, when D-Rose was driving in, he helped off, and then D-Rose kicked it out for an open 3. You kind of have to know, okay, we're up 3.
They're down by 3. There's 2 seconds. It's getting kicked out. Sets.
They have no timeouts either. You inbound the ball. Even if you were to miss one or both, it's a full court heave. So it's just, and this has been all season. They've blown the most double-digit leads, I believe. I know they've blown double-digit leads. So it's been a problem all year with their leadership. I know they're young, but I just wish guys like, Bledsoe and Adams would just be more of like all right, guys, especially Adams, because he's been deep in the playoffs too, and so is Bledsoe. Just be like, hey, focus up. We got to do this right now. Let's go get the W, and then we can do whatever after. So that's going to be something they're going to have to address in the offseason, and I don't know what the roster will look like, because I don't know if guys like Bledsoe and Adams will be back. But that's been the biggest concern with the Pelicans, and with that, I'm not as confident they'll make the plan, but like anything could happen as well. It would take like kind of a fall from the Spurs, because that's the only team I could see falling out.
Yeah, so I was looking like a fool when I was like, yeah, Sacramento, they're going to make the play-in. The Pelicans are closer to Sacramento at the 12 seed than they are to the Spurs at the 10 seed.
3 games back, correct?
Yeah, 3 games back, and then Kings are 5 games back total. So Kings are making it, but
it's close. I'm like 2 games from saying they're done.
I feel like this play-in tournament has done a lot. It gives us content for our podcast, because we don't be talking about 11 seed unless we have this play-in tournament. But it's also giving an excuse. Like, if it was still the 8-team playoffs, this would be a lost season for the Pelicans. Like, this would be an absolute fail, an epic fail, no bacon moment for the Pelicans if there was no play-in tournament. Like, the 11 seed, when you have a guy averaging 26 and you're
cringe.
Literally Shaq numbers.
The most cringe part of an NBA team is when you're playing veterans over young guys, Bledsoe over Lonzo, and still losing. So that you're not getting development and you're not getting wins. So, if you're not getting either of those, what's the point of even...
Basically what the story of the Warriors, too, although, Steph is just putting them on their back, so it's different.
Oh, yeah, I would much rather see Nico Mannion starting at the point guard spot over Steph Curry so he can get those sweet developmental minutes. Next up, we're going to cheat and combine 2 games from the weekend that were similar, which were Lakers-Jazz. Hello, George. And the Heat and Nets game. Both games involve playoffs. Teams are missing big pieces. Both turned out to be pretty entertaining games. Lakers-Jazz went to overtime due to a Dennis Schroeder layup to tie it up in regulation. And Bam Adebayo, big green money mid-range, tied at 107. He had a little shimmy step back over – who was it over? Do you remember? Was it over?
Jeff Green.
JG. They show his heart transplant picture 2 minutes before it happened. I was like, this is cold. I'll let Josh kind of tackle the Heat Nets game, and then you'll get your chance, George. But we'll start with Josh here.
Why does Kevin Durant not miss? He played 1 game and went perfect, and today he went perfect. I was watching the game, and I was like, oh, great. It's over. And then he got hurt. 8 points in 4 minutes. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah.
As soon as his body works, oh no. I keep forgetting how dominant he is. It is.
Well, do they need his body to work? Landry Shamet, 30 piece. 30 piece.
Ball. I was about to get
Mickey
to that.
Mouse game. Mickey Mouse that
I don't know what. I'm honestly amazed that the Nets didn't win this game solely because of how many people they had score the ball. Their bench was kind of Nick Claxton, cringe. 4 points in 23 minutes. That's cringe. This is a very big win for Miami with no Jimmy Butler. But again, this is kind of a wash game, I would say. Not too many impressive things. Bam had a very good game, including the game winner. But Jimmy did make a good point that Bam has kind of played a passive role while Jimmy's in there, where he kind of settles more for jumpers. Yes, that's the exact word. But going for more mid-range shots rather than attacking the basket. And I know he's a little bit at a height disadvantage for a true center, but he's a strong dude. And I think that he definitely can get more aggressive in the paint, especially with like offensive rebounds. Instead of resetting, just put it back up. He has the George syndrome, kind of, where he doesn't really grab the rebound and put it back up. He kind of just, a little bit conservative. And I would like to see that more aggression from Bam, but otherwise this is a really much needed win for Miami. Go ahead for the Lakers Jazz, George.
Well, I have one thing I want to talk about. When in the halftime we announced the LaMarcus Aldridge retirement, George kind of tiptoed around it because, rightfully so. It was a pretty big health thing. You didn't want to talk basketball memories and stuff. We're about a week removed from that, and they're starting Blake Griffin at center. What do you think they're going to miss LaMarcus? Or, still no DeAndre Jordan this game. DNP coach's decision. But, they're still a very deep team, but do you think they're going to miss LaMarcus more than we think?
I don't think so, because he was just on the rotation for such a small amount of time. He's like I think that we're just holding he did show some bright lights, but I think this is just kind of like I don't really think that's too big of an issue, in my opinion. They didn't have him for enough to where the impact is long-lasting. I think the players that they have behind him should just be able to step up and do what he was doing for them.
Fair enough. George. All right, man. All right. What, Lakers Jazz, overtime. No LeBron AD, no Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, but I'm sure you still have a lot
Adam
of thoughts.
Silver's NBA, everybody. No, so the game was trending looking like a pretty big Lakers win. The Jazz had double-digit turnovers in the third quarter, and Lakers defense basically just turned it up a notch, which we've seen all year. So, Lehman actually FaceTimes me. We watched the fourth quarter. We're thinking, oh, this game's over. Lakers go on a just dry spell. And they've done that a lot, even with LeBron and AD a little bit. The offense has been concerning this season, but the defense has been so elite that nobody has really talked about it as much. And yeah, they went on a dry spell. Overtime was forced, and then they just blew it open in overtime, and that was all she wrote.
So Utah 20-16 run in the fourth, and LA 17-5 run in the overtime period. So, game of runs, as they say. But did you really see anything from this game?
No, it was looking like the Lakers defense had won them yet another game, but then the offense said not so fast. But Jazz 3-point shooting is definitely something, and that's going to be it. Whatever happens with that in the playoffs is going to dictate what happens with them, because they came out firing, and in the fourth they were hitting too. So we'll see how that holds up, because that's their biggest. I'd say their biggest consistency basically this season.
Yeah, just to name some: Ursan Ilyasova, 30 minutes, 20 points. Joe Ingles, 20 points, 14 assists. Jordan Clarkson, 27, including the it would have been the game-winning 3 unless Dennis Schroeder hit that. So, yeah, entertaining game, both of them, but not a whole lot to really put into it. Joe Mickey. To end the recap, another quickie involving the East play-in race. Raps and Wizards both went 2-0 this weekend, and that means we have a 3-way tie for the 10 seed between the Raps, the Bulls, and the Wizards. Raps right now, as of Monday, they're in there. So I don't know if they have a tiebreaker or if that's just how the standings
Let's go. Going.
But call your shot, guys. You already know my answer, but
you know my answer, right?
Who's getting that 10 seed? Well, George, tell us your answer.
Wizards.
All right, then we're in agreement. Josh, it's time. Just say the Wizards.
I'm staying with the 6.
I hope you get the Drake curse on Spotify now because of that.
It can't be the 6. It can't. Any reason it's a 6 besides you don't want to pick the Wizards?
They've looked pretty decent. 6-4 in their last 10. Won 3 in a row, and a lot of the games that they've lost have been because they've just missed a buttload of players. But Gary Trent's been a very nice addition. As much as I used to slander him, he's been a very good, especially on the scoring end of it. Very nice on both ends. I think that they have a shot. I think they have the best coach out of the 3. And, they might be well set for it. They might make that late push. And if they play Indiana,
trying
Toronto.
Some Mickey Mouse wins in 2 of their last 3. The Orlando Magic and the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are not trying to win games. the Raptors aren't either, but someone has to win the game. So,
didn't the Wizards play the struggling Pelicans and the Pistons and the Kings?
I never defended their wins. I just said
they're literally trying to tank. Josh, just give it up. They've rested like Siakam and Lowry the past 3 games.
Gary Trent simply wants to make the play-in.
Gary Trent wants the green light where all the Raptors players go back to Toronto and he gets to just shoot 50 shots in Tampa with Lakers Summer League legend Matt Thomas just running right next to him in the guard spot.
Matt Thomas is on the Jazz. Funny enough.
Oh my goodness. He did play for the Raptors though. He did.
He did. And he did play for the Lakers at one point.
Before I get any coaches wrong, any teams wrong, I'm going to go to George's halftime report. Halftime for 2 reasons. Only one today. George's the half hooper. George, halftime now.
So an article came out from GQ magazine because I guess Ben Simmons was modeling or something. But he said that he was the depoy, and there was a few interesting talking points I want to talk about, and then I'm going to get your guys' opinion on who should win. He said, I was supposed to guard KD in their game against the Nets. And then he said, the next person I'm guarding is Kyrie Irving. Who's doing that? Not many players are doing that. And to be doing it at a high level. And then the announcer says, didn't Kyrie have 37? Ben Simmons responds with a me type of comment. Yeah, but we won. And his plus minus was negative. And it was a minus 13. And also I want to add that Joel Embiid also said he believes he's the deep boy. So the Sixers, they don't even know what's going on. But I want to get your opinion on those quotes and then who you guys think is going to be the depoy. So what's up, Lehman?
So Ben Simmons was a -1 in this game.
But he won. He won, though.
Yeah, because his friend from, over the sea, Joel Embiid, had an insane game, 39-13. And Kyrie had the help of Uncle JG, 15 points. Landry Shamet, 17 points. So he really should have pulled out the win there. I agree. I like my most time. I defend the guy that can guard multiple positions. The Draymonds, the perimeter players that play defense, because we don't need to keep seeing Rudy Gobert win depoys. Although I have him winning this year, but yeah, it was so corny bringing up the plus minus, and then like he's trying too hard. Like Harden was just like, I'm the MVP, and he just. No, that was that. Now you don't need to do a GQ interview to say you're the depoy. It's corny.
He wants Kendall Jenner back. He's got to do a fancy fashion magazine. What do you think, Josh?
I'm a little bit on the opposite side of this. He kind of that was kind of a cringe defense. It was like a George defense in terms of what he said, but. I do think that he should probably win it. I have him as my number 1. I think it kind of has to do with my hatred for Rudy Gobert, but man, there's got to be some sort of voter fatigue, man. Like he's just like they just hand it to him on a silver platter. What? Because he's 7'1", blocks easy shots and rebounds a lot. Like, come on, man. Like half the league does that. Nerlens Noel does what Rudy Gobert does for a team that's not as good as the Utah Jazz.
But are the Utah Jazz the number 1 seed? I don't.
Yes, they are.
I mean, I meant the Knicks.
Yes,
oh no!
Yes,
No!
But yeah, he mentioned won the game. He has the MVP on his team, and he mentioned plus minus, and Kyrie was a minus when he was also minus in the plus minus.
No, that interview, he sucked. That sucked, and that was cringe. But aside from that interview,
shout out that reporter for not just giving in. Didn't he have 37?
He stared at him.
Didn't he have 37?
The transcript of the article said Simmons stares at me. So moving on to our last one, another player pod interview thing. I really dig these player interviews, player podcasts. We need more of them because it fuels our halftime. But someone asked Kevin Durant his top 5 teammates he ever played with, and there was a little bit of controversy. So no interruptions. He named Kyrie, Harden, Steph, Clay, Ibaka, and he had to think about Ibaka. He's like, I'm gonna go with Serge. Like he's like, who am I forgetting? He went with Serge. The host later on said, "Oh, that's interesting. You didn't." Both of them said you left out someone that we thought would be on there. And Katie's like, "Who?" And he's like, Russ from LA, because that's where Russ is from. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot Russ. Yeah, no, he's like, switch Russ to 4, put Clay at 5, and take out Serge. So, is this cap like? Did he actually forget, or you think it still beef there? Josh, what are you thinking?
No, I don't think so. I mean, he did say he was tripping, and you know how some basketball players like to get outside of the court, especially considering he didn't put him at 5. It wasn't like a quick switch. It was like a drop in at 4. Like, I think he might have just like forgot, honestly. But again, you never know. Katie, still, fun fact, according to the Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson co-podcast, still has burner accounts. So he's a very interesting man. So it could be anything. But Kyrie won.
I just find it hard to believe that he leaves out the teammate he had played with the longest on that list.
Yeah. When has he played with Kyrie? All-Star games?
He's played like 10 games with Kyrie. Man.
I don't think Kyrie qualifies.
Listen, he has to put Kyrie at 1, or else the guy's taking 2 weeks off. Man, I'm sorry.
I think he could put Kobe on there from Team USA if he's putting Kyrie on there, because they played the same amount of games together. And then Kyrie over Russ with when he's played with him should not be a debate. Russ was the peanut butter hit to his jelly, and Kyrie being serious. 15 games together
in the Western Conference Finals.
15. That's not my problem. That's not a debate for today. But I think Katie did it kind of on purpose. Like, you don't forget things like that. You played with the dude for 9 years. Unless Katie was, puffing that Mary Jane and he did not know where he was, you can't remember Serge Ibaka and not Russell Westbrook.
Well, Serge did serve him.
Like the
Eastern
dragon test.
Yeah, like African
full penis
over summer. So you never know.
Yeah, and Russ served him a 30-game win streak, I think, when they played together. So, just frustrating. Everyone hates Russ.
Katie does love the interactions. I know he loves to go on Twitter and just, debate with anybody. So he knows by saying that he's going to get interactions and mentions. And I think he lives for that. So nothing more.
I think he did it perfect. Kind of like forgetting Russ, but then also covering his he's like, oh, he's 4, not 5.
He's like, oh, I forgot Russ. Yeah, oh, totally. I think it was for the for the clicks and interactions. But that's all for this halftime.
What a joke. Well, that halftime wasn't a joke. That was great. But
thanks,
like in the intro, speaking of LaFraud, we're going to talk about the best villains in NBA history in honor, like I said, of Jake Paul winning. He's kind of embraced the villain role, and I don't like Jake Paul. I like when someone can do that. I like when they're like, yeah, everyone hates me. I like it. So, best villains in NBA history. I like Josh's, so we're going to start with George.
Oh, elite switch up there. I guess mine's not good, but I'll say it. Zaza Pachulia. The biggest moment of him being a villain is the 2017 Western Conference Finals, when he basically intentionally took out Kawhi Leonard's quad, ankle, whatever. He did that stupid closeout. He took like 3 extra steps, and Kawhi gets injured, never comes back in. Spurs were up 20 as well. I think they might have had their number that series. Who knows? And then, Kawhi leaves the next season to Toronto. Basically ended the Spurs dynasty as we knew it. So thanks, Zaza. And another moment, whenever the Thunder would come back to the Bay or vice versa, Zaza had it out for Russ for no reason. I don't know why. And he's trying to protect KD or something, but dude would come over screens and just throw him to the ground. And I hated it. I'm like, what are you doing, Russ, my guy? I don't know what you're doing. So
what a fall from grace, too, because they had to make a rule because he was getting voted into All-Star games. They had to make the Zaza rule where, fans only counted for 50%. Like, everyone, he was just a goofy-looking – he was the Boban for a little bit. It's like the goofy-looking guy that was
Two rules came for that. It wasn't even just the All-Star thing. That closeout rule happened right after that. The landing space thing.
He has more rules made from than Wilt Chamberlain.
And Mike and MJ. The Zaza rules, not the Jordan rules. So that's my villain.
Jordan rules, good book.
Jordan Mickey rules.
It hit 1 a.m. and the Mickey jokes are flying everywhere.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1998. You're just getting over the grievance of your mother's loss, and you have to play a game on the day dedicated for mothers. Your opponent, a young high school stud with a loud mouth, And after he drops a cool double-double on you, and in their victory, he says, "Happy Mother's Day, bleep." So my favorite villain is probably Kevin Garnett. There's like a 30-minute compilation of just things he said. And probably one of my favorite stories of it is when Doc Rivers brought Austin Rivers to a practice, and Austin Rivers was cooking the starting lineup, and then Kevin Garnett played him, and Austin Rivers scored 1 on him and started talking trash, and Garnett put him in a timeout. He beat him like 5-1, and Doc Rivers kicked his own son out the gym because Kevin Garnett put the brakes on him. He just talks so much, and he just has that hardcore attitude. He just headbutting people. He's like 39 and trying to start a fight with like other grown men. It's the funniest thing in the world. So
great actor too. Mine is also a great actor. He's in a movie this summer, and I'm not talking about this year's LeBron. I'm talking about Miami LeBron when he thought he really liked being the villain, and he was good at being the villain that first year, and then he started doing like press runs and like started like donating to charity publicly and stuff like that in the 2012 season. But he Lobozo in the 2011 NBA season, when he went to Miami, they held that, like, it wasn't a press conference, it was like a Drake concert. When they were like, not 1, not 2, and he's like just having a good old time up there. And then he scores 8 in the finals. And that if Twitter was around there, that would have been the start of Lobozo. But yeah, that 1 year, Miami LeBron of 2011, he liked being the villain, and like he didn't care what anybody thought. Then he lost, and then he kind of switched up. But that 1 year I really liked. But I like Kevin Garnett just because like Kevin Garnett didn't care who liked him. Like Kevin Garnett was just cool, just doing him. And yeah, he came in as a 18-year-old and was guarding Tim Duncan. That's so and he was just out here running his mouth. Yeah, good answers there. Look ahead time. George, did you remember?
Yes, I have Milwaukee versus Phoenix, and Josh
straight to it. George forgets.
I did forget for a little bit, but want to see how Milwaukee's defense specifically will play against that backcourt of CP3 and Book, because I've been concerned about their defensive integrity a little bit lately, so should be fun.
Joshua.
So my game happens a little bit before George's, 4:30 ESPN. Steph Curry will hopefully go a bit better in the plus-minus spectrum than Kyrie Irving when they play Philadelphia. Ben Simmons gets another crack at a top-tier scoring point guard. And no center, so this wins on all spectrums. I get to watch Steph Curry shoot every shot, and I get to watch Draymond Green try to guard Joel Embiid.
Oh, so no.
That's 2 wins for me, in my opinion. So
this is how you win.
Exactly.
This is how I win. The Pelicans need a W. All right, they really need one. They're 3 games out. They're on national TV. They're gonna they're playing the Nets 4:30 TNT Tuesday.
That was mine. You took it.
Probably gonna be no KD. All right, shut your mouth. Probably gonna be no KD. Probably just Kyrie. Definitely no Harden. So no excuses here. Pelicans should get this win. I don't see a way where they don't. If they don't get it, are we out, George? Are we out in the Pelicans?
Well, possibly. I'll have to see how the standings look beforehand, but I did want to choose that game because they were the team to stop Zion from his 50%
so upset
shooting streak. So I don't think I'll be out on them yet. If they end up getting to 5 by like next week's Sunday podcast, I'll be out on them for sure. Like 5 games back.
What about you, Josh? You still on the Pelicans bandwagon? Yeah, I'm off. I'm off.
Am I the only one on the bandwagon?
The 14th seed.
I think I could say confidently the Kings have as good of a shot as making it as the Pelicans. It's 0. But yeah, I'm excited for that game. I always got to take the national TV Pelicans. TNT too, their roots. TNT Pelicans. That's going to do it for tonight's episode. Thanks for watching or listening. If you like our show, make sure to follow us at THHoopers, Insta, and Twitter. just get some interactions going. George posted on Twitter again.
I did.
Drop a LaBozo or a La Mickey Mouse or something. I don't know. Drop something to get his attention. He's never come back without his phone.
I'm gonna have to try and ratio someone on a post in order to get more interactions for Twitter.
I'm gonna have to pray to God that I don't hop on Twitter and THHoopers is tweeting at NBA Mary and Hannah Hoops. I'm gonna go say a prayer right now. But thanks for being an OG and take care, everyone.